everybody. Thank you for coming and joining us tonight with On the Ice. On today's episode, as you can see in the upper corner, the Humboldt Broncos logo. A great time to catch up with an old pal of mine, good friend of the show, my old counterpart. I remember doing these 3 or 4 years ago with my friend Rory McGouran, who is now the play-by-play announcer for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League's Humboldt Broncos. We're going to talk a little bit about last season as well as the upcoming offseason, how long it's been, how we're raring to get back to real professional junior hockey live action in Saskatchewan, as well as a little bit behind the scenes, the play-by-play stories you might have, how we got into the biz, and what keeps his drive still going. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good pal, Rory McGouran, on the ice. Rory McGouran, hello. I love the backdrop. Thank you for joining me today on the ice. How are we doing in Saskatchewan, Humboldt, Saskatchewan?
We're doing really well over here, Theo, man. I miss you. My very first color commentator, when we both started out back there in Manitoba, and I'm very happy you welcomed me in here. I'm glad you pointed the backdrop. I've done a few off-season interviews, and I thought this would be a little better than my barren apartment walls. We got the Bronco logo. We got our 29 in the back right there. So, yeah, we stepped it up for your show here.
You know what? It's one of those things, Rory. I mean, we talk text. We once in a while get a chance to catch up during the season. But to do this with you finally, it's a couple of years in the doing, and it's great to hear. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those stories that you and I have back in the day. My infamous takeoff line, my ending line, we'll get to that as well. I don't know if you remember that or not. But regardless, we're going to catch up with you, Rory, here for the next little bit. Again, thank you for taking the time. The Humboldt Broncos, a crazy history. We won't go back into it. Like I said, last year, everything came to an abrupt halt with everybody. For you and the team, what were those final days kind of like in March with the season ending and all of a sudden you're being told you can't do anything?
Well, I guess it plays a little different for us and the Flin Flon Bombers, the playoff round one matchup that we had for the Humboldt Broncos, because we finished our series. The Bombers were a juggernaut in that playoffs, finished second in the league, and the Broncos slotted in seventh, and the Bombers won 4 straight games. So we were actually the only 2 teams that got to finish the season, and you just got to feel it for all the 20-year-olds that didn't, all the coaches and the scouting staffs that worked so hard to put these teams on the ice. And I mean, if you look at the Flin Flon Bombers and what they had assembled leading into last season in the playoffs, and everyone expected them to have a really deep run. So to just have it abruptly cut off was, you're at a loss for words for the players that have worked their entire hockey lives to get to that point and really look forward to what they can do in the future.
Flin Flon was stacked, not just from Manitoba players, but they had quite the Quebec connection. A lot of great scorers from out east. We don't know what the situation is, whether or not there will be any type of connection like that this year. But the off season for the Broncos, has it been? Obviously, it's been a little bit longer for everybody. I mean, a couple extra months. How has the team been able to prepare and prioritize what they need to do so that when we do get that, that commitment from Saskatchewan Public Health and Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League saying we're a go, what preparations have been done in this off season?
Well, let's just take it back to the year before, because Scott Barney, Curtis Tunuff, and the scouting staff, they went young last year, and a lot of pundits didn't think that they were a playoff team. They got in 7th place and kind of surprised a lot. And now looking forward to this year, they're no longer that sort of young team with a lot of undetermineds. They have 18 players that they brought back from last season. And then you look at the names that Scott has brought in this year, like Stefan Huard out of the QMJHL, Chase Namath out of the BCHL, Austin Flamin, a former #1 overall draft pick in the SJHL. And like, these are players, just those 3 put you over your 20-man roster. So there's a lot of continuity going ahead this year. And I think throughout the offseason, it was really stressed towards the players that take care of your body. Like, they were given workout plans. They were given everything they needed to come into this year and be as prepared as possible, because the Humboldt Broncos are expected to make a run with all this continuity, all the chemistry, and all the returning players that they have going to be into this roster in 2020 and 2021.
That's a massive number returning from the past year. I mean, teams usually struggle, 50%, 10, 12 guys popping back. But the fact that number of men coming back to put on a Broncos jersey, plus the names you've added, I mean, like you said, it's probably a good problem to have, or is it a bad problem to have, do you think?
No, I think in no way, shape, or form is it a bad problem to have. The only thing that I guess would jump out is that you're going to have players that were on the team last year that, they're competing for roles. But, ask the question, does that make you a better hockey player in the end if you're forced to bring your A game, not only in games, but throughout training camp, throughout practices, and every time you're on the ice, you need to impress, because there's a lot of bodies that are pressing for those spots on forward and on defense and in net.
Right. So let's talk offense. Let's talk defense. Let's talk goaltending. Which part of this team needed a bit of an address, so to speak? Was it the fact that we needed more offense in the long run, better protection between the pipes? Where do you think Scott's really addressed? Or I guess you can't really address it yet because 18 players are returning. So the major cofactor is the maturity, right? Does he feel that he has the mature group coming back, addressing what the needs are of this team to make the next step forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for this team, there wasn't a glaring weakness or a glaring hole that Scott needed to fill. It was just a matter of growth. And that's going back to the offseason. And I mean, these are young men now. And you got to put yourself in a position, just like any career that you choose, you got to put yourself in a position to succeed. And to do that, you have to put the work in, not just during the season, but during the off season. So I think with that returning group, it was who's going to show the coaching staff that they did put in the work. And it wasn't, they're not just looking ahead to the summer. And I mean, you got to take your time to enjoy, but there's a lot on the line for them. I mean, colleges are looking at them. And hockey can really set you up well for the future. So growth is the biggest thing for me for this team that they needed to kind of work on. And talking to these guys in the off season and now seeing them throughout the extended training camp that we've been having since, I believe, September 4th, growth is there. Growth is there. This is going to be an exciting bunch.
It's amazing when you see a player put on an extra 10 pounds over the off season, or grow that extra year. I mean, you see from a 17 to an 18-year-old, that maturity, we've seen it countless times, right? And you probably see it with this squad as well. So you said you've had a elongated training camp, now into a development camp, I guess. Give us the latest details that Rory, with regards to how this team is ready to get going. And do we have a date? Do we have any knowings of what's going to happen in the future?
Get going is a great term, because they are ready to get going. And I'm sure everyone is in every league that, can't lace them up and get into gameplay right now. Of course, the news the other day was the Saskatchewan Hockey Association and their return to play proposal was, approved by the government. But SJHL is just in a little different boat, same as the WHL and any other major junior league, where we are really dependent on fans. Like, not really dependent, we are dependent on fans. We need our fans to be here in order to be sustainable. So that's sort of the hurdles that I believe the SJHL is trying to iron out and then propose to the government. And I don't have a date. I don't know. I know that everyone behind the scenes and doing the interviews and in front of the cameras with the SJHL are working extremely hard to get the players back on the ice, because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We want to see these players play, and we want to see them grow and succeed, and then and hopefully move on to bigger and better things in life.
We can definitely say that the facilities in use will be a lot cleaner, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, they'll be clean, and yeah, but honestly, just whatever we have to do, everyone's going to have to sort of step up, and it's going to be different for everyone. We don't really know what it's going to look like yet, but it's going to take everyone involved to do what is necessary to not only get back to play, but when we do get there, to maintain that the whole season and into the playoffs.
Maintaining that whole season and making sure that there's least amount of occurrences to make sure that all those games get in is probably a high priority. For that to happen, obviously, a lot of work has to be done on and off the ice. Regards to on the ice play and this team you see from last year, Rory, to this year, we discussed maturity. How would you describe Scott's team upcoming? Fast, heavy? Give me some key words that if I'm coming into that rink in Humboldt, that I'm looking forward to watching the Broncos run.
Yeah, speed, man. That's what they were last year. I mean, he brought in 01s, 02s. For the majority of the season, only carried two 20-year-olds, Logan Foster and Grayson Cameron. You're allowed more than that, and they went young last year, but man, the speed on the ice, and it's a quick-moving team from the defense to the offense in transition, and then once you get into the offense, pucks to the net. I believe we averaged, don't quote me, but I think it was like 39.8 shots per game throughout the season. So Scott loves to fire it on net and then get a lot of traffic in net. And if you get those players that are willing to go into sort of those dirty areas and not afraid to take the punishment in order to get the success, that's sort of the team that they had last year. And I'm just so excited to see, again, the growth. That's the word of the day, because like a Logan Kirky or a Tristan Shuchuk or even a Luke Spadafora, who's been on the radar for the last 2 seasons, a rookie of the year a couple of years ago. Like the step that he's going to take now into his 20-year-old season and final year in junior hockey. It's just, there's so much excitement around this team. And throughout this interview, I'm going to leave so many names off the board, and I don't mean to do that, but there's just, there's a lot of guys that are coming back, and excitement is here. But to describe the team, it's a fast, puck-moving, exciting team to watch. So
I'm going to give you a chance to mention another couple of names. Who's leading this team in 2021?
It's really tough to tell. That top 6 group has so many options, and not only options to put the puck in the net, but flexibility for the coaching staff. You have an Austin Flaman who can play center and who can play wing. You have a Chase Namath who was a center in the BCHL, but you might see him shuffle along to the wing. Luke Spadafora, like I mentioned, he's a consensus pick to be among the league leaders in points. And we'll just see that the offseason work that he put in, and he was one of the guests that I had in our offseason with the Broncos segments, and just talking to him about his workout regiment was they're taking it seriously. But there's a lot of names. Tristan Shuchuk, another former first overall draft pick in the SJHL, had 30 goals last year. And he's a 01 board, so he's got 2 years left of SJHL eligibility. So there's I don't even know if I can put my finger on who's the guy leading the charge, because their top 6 forwards are going to be a handful for a lot of teams.
You're not talking much about the defense, so you're really relying on this Bronco team.
Oh no, we'll get
defense
there.
second.
No, we'll get there. The defense as well, and I don't think that there's one of them on the line that are rookies, that are new. I mean, the youngest one's going to be Noah Barlog, a Humboldt native, of course, and fans always love to see him get on the ice, being from the area, and he's a 03, and he'll be the youngest, but he played last year. And then you look at it from the Merritt Daniels of the play points for Scott. Now he's in his 20-year-old season. This is a guy who just came into the SJHL and immediately took over. So I would not pencil in the defense as a sort of a focal point for the coaching staff to sort of refine, because there's a lot of guys there that are ready.
You talk about Nolan being a Humboldt native. How important is it to have the homegrown talent representing the home team and their relationship with the community off the ice as well as on the ice?
I just think when you get the opportunity to, because not a lot of teams get that opportunity to have that homegrown talent, with sort of the restrictions placed around the Bantam draft and whatnot. But when you do get it, you have to you got to use it. I mean, Noah is, like he's a guy that will bring in fans, and when he gets his game going and gets on the score sheet or whatnot, it's that added sort of heart to the team that you got to use when you have it, is that homegrown talent. And he's a talented player and was raw last year, but halfway through the season, you saw him then move up from a guy who maybe didn't get a lot of the minutes to playing a top pairing role with Doug Scott. And Doug likes to skate and he likes to create offense. And for a 16-year-old player like Noah to be that sort of calming presence along with him on that first pairing, going up against, like you said, like Alec Malo, Tristan Lemire, and Cole Refuse of a Flin Flon Bombers team. It was just a sight to see his growth, not only through the year, but what he did just in that second half to show that he was committed to not only the Humboldt Broncos but his hockey life.
Things look bright whenever this season begins here in the fall, the early December. Who knows? We're going to take a quick break, Roy. We'll come back. We're going to tell some stories, and we'll go back in the Wayback Machine here on the ice.
At Super 8 Winnipeg West, we have your comfort in mind, with free Wi-Fi and free daily Superstart breakfast. We also have guest laundry facilities, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and a jetted hot tub. Sleep well in a spacious guest room equipped with plush new bedding, a 50-inch flat-screen HD TV, microwave, mini refrigerator, and Keurig coffee maker. Or book a suite with a kitchen, ideal for extended stays. Super 8 Winnipeg West, located just inside the perimeter on Portage Avenue.
Back with Rory McGouran, the play-by-play, announcing the name, the man, the voice. I could say a whole bunch more accolades, but I'll stop there because I know his career is short and he has plenty more. And he will always say that he needs to improve, Rory McGouran. Let's talk about some stories of the past year with the boys. You probably were around a lot of them. Any good stories that are PG sort of that you could tell the fans and let them know about the outside, the off the ice persona of the Broncos?
I don't really have anything that comes to the top of the mind in sort of headline making stories. It was just an honor to be around those guys, and just to like Grayson Cameron, who of course was on the bus on April 6th of 2018, and just to see him not only lead this team, but the person he was to the community, and to come back with what he has gone through. It was just an honor to get to be around these guys for the whole season and really see them gel together as a team that brought in so many young players and so many new players that I don't have any stories, but it was honestly an honor. I'm a loss for words to say that what I took away from last year and just to be around them was a privilege.
When it comes to nicknames with players, why does it always end with a Y? Did you ever get down to that? Any theory on that one? I mean, my nicknames never ended in Y. My brother's too.
Well, my name ends in a Y, so my nickname, it doesn't end in a Y.
Right.
I just get the roar from time to time. But I don't know, man. When you throw Y at the end of anything, you got, Theo doesn't really work, though. You can't.
No, my brother's name ends in a Y. So for him, it was always Tutski or something like that. It makes no sense. There's no nickname to it. But I've always wondered that from a person that's involved with the team as an announcer and getting to know the ins and outs of some of these players. There's got to be some, you yourself build a relationship with these players when you talk to them. What's the greatest feeling you have when you're doing those interviews with the players and giving them their 15 minutes of fame for that little bit of time and making them feel, a little more confident about who they are?
Well, it's the same thing. It's twofold. Sure, like I'm giving them the spotlight, but they're giving me the time as well. And every interview you do, you're harnessing your craft and you're working on it to sort of excel as they are on the ice. I am behind the mic. So that's kind of what I take from it is it goes both ways. Yes, they're getting the spotlight of an interview and get to sort of relate to the fan base and to the listening world about who they are and how they are of a hockey player. But I mean, they also treat me with the utmost respect, and I do not take that for granted one bit, because without them, who would I be? I'm no one. I need them to be able to do my job, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Obviously, this is an easy question, but how hard is it to interview a Bronco player after a loss, and when you know that they're just not really wanting to be interviewed right now, they just want to forget this one and move on?
Yeah, but they know it's part of the job.
Okay.
It's a lot. Wins happen, losses happen, and they're going to have to kind of handle that professionally as young men. And the questions that are proposed to them, they're not always going to be fun questions to answer. So it's and you know what, and that's sort of how it is in life. You're not going to have situations where it's always set up for success. You're going to have obstacles, you're going to have hurdles, and there's going to be ups and downs. And it's how are we going to make ourselves learn from this and make ourselves better from it. So I think an interview after a loss or an interview after a win, you can learn amples of benefits that will help you move forward just as equal.
Absolutely. I go back to the times you and I before you went to Thunder Bay that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I mean, you got to tell the story of how you went from Winnipeg to the voice of the Humboldt Broncos.
Yeah, I guess the start was I got to give thanks to Chris Brook and Raccoon Carney at TSN 1290 in Winnipeg, because I didn't actually have any background per se as of schooling or whatnot. So they could have went a lot of other directions, but I just asked them to give me a chance and just give me a shot at a couple of training trips and see if I could do this. And that was just for board operating for Blue Jays games, for Winnipeg Jets games, and they did. They trusted me, and they did give me that opportunity. And the same thing for Glenn, who you and me both know very well. When that opportunity came to call games, and I believe my first was the Pembina Valley Hawks against the Northeast Chiefs. I think that was the first game I called. Manitoba Midget AAA Hockey League. And oh man, I tell you, I had so much preparation involved for that game that like I was ready. I had everything memorized, the players, the stats. As soon as that puck dropped in my very first broadcast, it was blank. Like it went away. And I was like, oh, after the first period, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not cut out for this. I mean, I thought it would be fun to give it a go, and I had second doubts after that first period, because it was something different than I've ever tried to handle before. And then the second period came, and I felt a little more comfortable. And after the game ended in the third period, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. But yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock in that very first game. And then, of course, we covered the West Regionals a few times, and Steinbach it was, and then we went to Thunder Bay. And just like in anything, the more and more experience you get, the more and more time you put into it, the more and more just practice, it goes forward. And then when I applied for the Humboldt Broncos, I didn't expect to get the job, but I just wanted to throw my name in the hat, and being a part of this team the past 2 years, going into my third season now, I'm just so grateful for the chance and the opportunity that I've been provided here in Humboldt, and it's not something that I'll ever take for granted.
Our first game you and I did was at the Bell MTS Iceplex. We won't mention who it was, but I remember the preparation you had with the 11x17 sheets of player boxes, stats, goals against average. I mean, this isn't typed out stuff. This isn't a program handed to you by a scribe. This is you doing your research, doing your work on it. And outside of bringing a bottle of Preparation Ace, you had everything covered. It was quite the amazement for me, because as color, it's one thing. I mean, I just have to, we think color is easy, but we think play-by-play does everything. But they're equally as important.
Oh, yeah, they are. Absolutely. And I guess I got to give credit to my dad for that, of course, like Tom McGouran, who a lot of people back in Winnipeg know, the morning show host of 94.3 The Drive. And he said to me when I started, if you don't enjoy the preparation, then you're in the wrong business. Because when you're behind the mic, yeah, it's only a couple hours of a game, and that's when you get to shine. But it's all the work that you put in behind the scenes that really will carve out who you are as someone in media and someone in broadcasting. And I tell you, Theo, I love doing the preparation almost as much as I love calling the game. I can't trump it, but no, there's nothing like calling a hockey game. But the preparation that goes involved, and putting in that work and learning about the players and all these neat little facts and where they've came from, it's such a great job, and the preparation is one of my favorite parts of it.
You're like the Bob Ross painting a story there, just going through and explaining it all, but at the same time, fluidly making it 3 periods of hockey sound so absolutely majestic and beautiful. The ebbs and flows, the high mountain ranges, the low riverbeds. I mean, you do it all. I mean, I love listening to the Bronco games when I have a chance, and you've certainly mastered a craft, Rory. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If I may intervene there, I definitely have not mastered it. There's always room for improvement. And
a young Bob Ross, then.
Exactly what you said, though. When everyone asks me, like, what's the greatest part about doing play-by-play, it's being a storyteller for the game that we love. It is those ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster ride, man. I mean, you watch a movie or read a book, it takes you on that ride, and it'll go up and it'll bring you down, and it'll make you laugh and it'll make you cry. And just being able to be that storyteller and bring these players and coaches to the spotlight in this team, there's not another job that I would rather do in this world. I'm so happy.
In the short career that you've had thus far, Rory, what is the hardest part of the game to call in your eyes? I mean, for me personally, I have a hard time calling an away goal still. I try to get excited for it. I try to do my best to give it the business it deserves, but
yeah,
to this day, I'm still like, yeah, it's in the net. It's a goal. I'm like, I got to say more to that.
Well, I mean, you're going to have the critics out there if you're a complete homer, right? Yeah. And you're only getting super excited and pumped up for home goals. But you got to remember that there's opposition teams listening as well. Of course, I am the Humboldt Broncos broadcaster, so when they score, there's going to be a little more excitement involved in my voice. But it's hockey at the end of the day, right? You see the opposition team breaking down the ice and a tic-tac-toe play in front of the net and finishes it. How can you still not get excited because of what you just saw them do on the ice? Like, hey, I've played hockey, not this level by any means, but to see them, what they're capable of, it just brings happiness and excitement no matter who scores. So you got to find a balance. But no, when the opposition team scores, you got to give them their due.
You've got to give them the due that's needed.
Yeah.
Humboldt, now this will be your 3rd year now broadcasting with the team, or 4th?
Yeah, no, heading this season here, when we start, will be my 3rd season.
What has the town of Humboldt shown you in terms of small town hockey, but at the same time, coming from a larger city, what have you really begun to appreciate about Humboldt and the cities that you have a chance to visit in Saskatchewan?
Community, man. It takes a community to make a junior hockey organization successful. Without the fans, we won't be here. And just to see the amount of passion that this community has for the team, it's awesome. And I mean, even coming to the town, I mean, 6,000 people plus here in Humboldt, and Winnipeg, 750,000? Yeah, it was a little bit of a change, but the way that they welcomed me in, and I didn't think I was good at the beginning calling games. I needed to work on my craft a bit, but they gave me that time, and I was getting so much words of encouragement. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to live, and they love their Broncos, and we love them back.
Absolutely. Your send-off. Do you have a send-off you say before or after every single broadcast you do?
No, I don't think I have a send-off. I do have an intro, though. I do, of course, working at TSN and getting the honor of watching Paul Edmonds and Brian Munns do a Winnipeg Jets game and how much preparation they put into it. So I do have a pre-decided, and I write out my intro for every games, but I usually end it with saddle up the horses.
That's a good way to end it.
Saddle up the horses. It's Humboldt Broncos hockey.
There we go.
Is what I used at the beginning. Yeah.
I will say that over the past year working with Munzie and Edmonds, it was definitely something I appreciated as well, seeing how prepared they were. I mean, and also working that board. I mean, when you get on that vibe and that, that quick spot, you say, how much time do you have? You have 6 minutes. And they have it basically down to a 6-minute script between the two of them. I mean, magical. It's majestic almost. I mean, to listen to them, what they do.
Yeah, there's a lot of work and attention to detail that goes into it that maybe people don't really think about when they are listening to a broadcast. And that's again, just it takes a little bit of time. It takes game. It takes practice to kind of lay that out about when your intro is starting, when you're throwing to break, when the coach interview comes on, before you can get to the scenes of the game, your starting lineups, your referees, and then puck drop. Like it is a little bit of a path that you got to navigate there, but again, with experience and times, and that's why those guys are such professionals. And I mean, I look up to them, and whatever they do is it just comes through so beautifully over the air to depict that picture of Winnipeg Jets games. And I'm just trying to do it here in Humboldt.
It'll be tremendous to see. Speaking of the Winnipeg Jets, real quick before I let you go, what do you know, or do you know much about Cole Perfetti? I know he came from the O, but what are your thoughts on him going to the Jets?
I couldn't be more excited. I was texting Scott Barney, the head coach, when we were watching the draft from each other's homes, and I said, I hope that the Jets. I mean, I figured they were going to look down the middle, and I said, really hope Perfetti or Rossi will drop to 10, and Scott got back. He's like, Perfetti's one of my favorite players in the draft. He's like, I don't think he's going to slide to 10. So when he did, and the Jets, I'm sure Kevin Cheveldayoff ran up to the microphone to make that selection, because third most points out of any draft eligible player in the entry draft behind Alexis Lafreniere and Rossi. It was, I think he's going to be one heck of a player for the Winnipeg Jets, so they should be excited.
Yeah, I think he's got a good, mature role model in Scheifele in front of him to kind of guide him with the work ethic and the buy-in attitude that's required down the middle for the Jets. Picking up Stastny, good deal, bad deal? What do you think? Would you spend $6.5 million on that?
How do you look at that as anything other than a good deal? If you're looking at Cole Perfetti and maybe he needs a year, Stastny has 1 year left on his contract. The way that he played with Patrick Laine and Nikolai Ehlers in his, 18 games in the regular season, and then into the playoffs, they had unbelievable chemistry. He wants to be here is another big thing. He wants to be in Winnipeg. He likes the team. He likes the players, and I think there was a perfect move. There's pundits saying that why would you help out Vegas in cap situations? The goal is to help out your team. Yeah. Adding Paul Stastny helps out the Winnipeg Jets, and that's the only goal of that should be for a GM. All right.
The Winnipeg Jets did not have to involve themselves in the goalie carousel, but we still need to put some attention towards the D line, the blue line. Which defenseman would you like to see that would be new to the Jets, wear the new Jets jersey come the fall or December, I guess, January?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't even want to say a name. I guess I need to quickly peruse through Twitter to see if a name that I throw out there has been signed by another team already. I think the Dylan DeMello signing was a great signing, a guy who came in and doesn't really need to do too much to excel at his game and to provide what he brings to the Winnipeg Jets. I think bringing him back was a great move. I'm more excited about the jump up from a couple of other defensemen as in terms of rather than signing Brody, something like that. I'm looking at a Dylan Sberg and a Ville Heinola and sort of what can they do to insert themselves into the lineup, because the prospects are there. The question is, are they ready?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's going to be a wait and see come the new year. So I think I agree with you on that. I'm excited to see Dylan. I'm excited to see Ville come back and see what they can do on a more regular basis. I think both those players are ready. Rory, it's been great to catch up with you. I know we got lots going on. Happy Thanksgiving. I know. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving with the Fam Jam. And I'm going to end this session off with my end off, because we know how the first time you looked at me when I said bringing more goodness to the greatness,
I did.
And you were like, what does that mean? What are you going on with? And I try every broadcast and every play-by-play I do to end with that, because I think of you and that face you gave me saying, what are you talking about, Theo?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't – as long as it catches, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it catch. As long as I do this, I'm gonna catch on.
As long as it's got that hook, then stick with it, and I think you got it. So, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to yourself. I wanted to say hi to anyone who might be watching this that knows. I hope everyone's staying safe, and happy Thanksgiving to them as well. And I hope to see everyone soon. And I hope to be able to bring hockey back to everyone soon as well. I know there's some things that are getting worked out, but yeah, when the players get back on the ice, everyone shines. And I can't wait for it.
Rory McGouran, a gentleman, a great voice for the Humboldt Broncos. Thank you very much for joining me here on the ice. Tuesdays and Thursdays is the show, 7 o'clock. Look forward to catching up with you guys. And thank you for watching again. And stay safe out there. Follow the guidelines. Do what you got to do. But at the same time, enjoy getting out there and having some fun. And play the sport that you love. I'm going to stand with that. And on that, thank you, Rory. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you guys again next time. Bye-bye.